outline step by step. Thank you for joining us as we are going to tie a caddis pattern that will be a game changer. So to get started, we will need the following materials. In the vise I've got a size 14 hook, caddis hook, and a 3.2mm bead for additional weight. And I'm using lead wire in a 0.015 diameter. For the body we are going to use a fluorescent chartreuse, and this is UV reactive. For the ribbing we are going to use some copper wire, and for the back of the fly we are going to use some brown goose bites. Other than that, we will use some flashback for our wing case. So if you have everything ready, let's start tying this game changer in a caddis pattern. First we will add the lead wire to add weight to this fly. So what I do, just to make it easier, especially on smaller patterns, 14 is not that small, but if you go to 18s it can be difficult. I will wrap my lead wire once or twice over the hook shank, and then I will just put my finger over the lead wire and just roll that lead wire onto the shank of the hook. What it does for you is a few things. Number one, it applies the lead evenly. It also tightens the lead wire onto the hook shank so that it doesn't slip that easily. So I will do a few wraps. In this instance I'm going to put my lead wraps up into the bend right above the barb, or where the barb would have been. And then just to make it easier on myself, I'm going to add a little bit of super glue to the shank and push those lead wraps into the bead. That will seat properly, and then it's just easier to work with the rest of it. If you have a rotary vise, like I'm using the Norvise, you will find that the rotary function comes in very handy, especially when you deal with lead wire, because as soon as you take your hand and you twist it like this, you create twist in your lead, and that will cause it to break easier. So if you use your rotary function on your vise, your lead stays straight and it doesn't break that easily. With the lead wire in place, we will start with our thread. Just want to make sure everything is nice and tight. So I'm starting my thread behind the lead wire. I'm not going to build up a taper to the lead wire yet, because I first want to tie in the rest of my materials. So first of all I will tie in my ribbing, because that will be the last material that I am going to use. So always remember, the last material you want to use is the one that you tie in first at the bend of your hook. Secondly, I'm going to use my goose bite as the back of this fly. Leave the little tag in there, it just helps you to grip it. And then also make sure that you tie it in with the bottom side of the goose bite facing upwards. Then you've got a natural concave profile that you can lie over the round shape of your hook. So with those two in place, I will add my thread that I'm going to use. I'm just using a second bobbin. Just makes it easier instead of cutting and reattaching your thread. So with all my materials in place, I'm just going to cover my lead wraps with some thread to secure them and just cover them. We don't want too much of a taper. I'll take my thread out of the way, and now I will add my body material, which is this chartreuse thread. So you don't want a very bulky profile. So I'm just taking my time, making sure that I put my thread wraps next to each other. Also, you can spin your thread anti-clockwise just to flatten it a bit to get a smooth profile. And as I said, with a rotary vise like the Norvise that I'm using, it's quite easy to put your materials on your hook. Secure that with a few wraps of thread. And now we can take our goose bite and tie that in. I'm tying it on top of the hook shank. So just 2 loose wraps, check, make sure that you are happy. You can pull on it to just tighten it and then secure it with another few wraps. I'll throw in a 1/2 inch just to secure my materials, and then we are going to do our ribbing with a copper wire. The thread and the goose bite are both quite smooth and slippery, so what I will do is I will put a loose wrap of the copper wire over the goose bite and then tighten on it. And I can readjust my materials. Loose wrap over it. Make sure that it's in place and tighten. Another loose wrap, check it and tighten up on it. Norvise also makes an automatic retracting bobbin. Okay, so with the copper wire secured, we will add our flash chapeau as our wing case. Now for the thorax, you can choose what dabbing you want to use. I didn't show you what dabbing to use there, but I prefer this blend that I've made. It's a green flash with natural black dabbing and also a black synthetic dabbing. So it's quite coarse, but it just makes for a beautiful color. So you get a little bit of movement, you've got a bit of flash in it, a few triggers that we built into this. With that done, we can secure the wing case. That is basically the fly. I do one more thing, and it's not compulsory or mandatory. I just prefer to do it. It gives the fly a little bit more longevity and also helps to create a little bit of a different look to this fly, and that is a little bit of UV varnish. You can put anything on there. Sally Hansen's will also help, but the UV varnish is just a great product for me on this fly. It also helps to bring out the flashback this fly. I'm using quite a thick UV varnish for the simple reason I don't want it to run all over my fly. I just want to add it to the top of my fly. So I'm using my bobbin, put it on top of my bead, my thorax, or my wing case, sorry, and then over the goose bite. Seeing that it's so thick, it doesn't run and mess up the whole fly. So I'll just work it around the edges of the goose bite. If you have a little bit too much, just take it away with your needle. Good, that should be adequate. Now we can just cure it with our UV light. I don't know if you can see it on this video, but with the reflective or the UV reflective material in that thread, it shines like a little glow bug. Some UV varnish can be a bit tacky, and I will usually cover my UV varnish just with a thin layer of Sally Hansen, just to make sure that it doesn't remain tacky. I think that should do it. Yep. And there you have it, a caddis pattern. This is to be fished on the bottom of your stream or river, and with all the triggers, it's going to be a game changer for you. Tie them in a size 12 to a size 18, and enjoy fly fishing and your fly tying. Thank you for watching. Bye.